If you've been on the internet for the past entirety of it, you'll know it is filled with fandoms, and these fandoms, funnily enough, create fangames. Fangames are a great way for fans to bring their creativity to the franchise they love. They can put their own original ideas into their work in a unique way. Because of this, fangames can have a wide range of quality, with some games even rivaling official counterparts, and some being so notoriously bad that anything by comparison looks brilliant.
Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
It doesn't help that some fans are downright despicable. With this dichotomy of quality, as well as the notion of competition, some creators cast out fangames, seeing them as nothing more as someone trying to destroy or distract from their works, while some creators are much more accepting of fangames, allowing those games to only enhance and invite more to explore the original. And of course, fangames always release because small studios are notorious for always finishing any games they work on. With that all said, I'm going to take a deep dive and see what fangames I can get my hands on.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole!
Five Nights at Freddy's was one of the big hits of the 2010s, and with a formula that was very easy to replicate, of course it has fangames. These go from new games built from the ground up with such passion that could very easily eclipse the original to bad.
I'm a ghost now! Boo!
And the best place to start is with the beginning, with Treasure Island. Treasure Island is actually based off a creepypasta I taped from Treasure Island, with some spooky mascot characters that is definitely not Disney approved.
Very scary.
And after Five Nights at Freddy's released, one of the very first games to release was Five Nights at Treasure Island. A very unpolished game that had clear promise. It was remade and reimagined by the Radiance team, now becoming Treasure Island. There is even a follow-up game called Oblidas Casa. Treasure Island is very good. Stuck to the floors with no doors, each of the mascot characters are able to easily stumble into a room, with each one having a different way you have to deal with them. The atmosphere is great, and the rooms really encapsulate the abandoned feel of those old run-down buildings you see. Everything in disarray, as anything left behind is transformed through the years of neglect. The mascots are twisted and warped, with the one running the shots titled Mother being especially creepy. It encapsulates that unearthly supernatural feeling. But what about a FNAF game that is closer to the initial FNAF experience? And that would be Five Nights at Candy's. Now dealing with actual animatronics. This game and its animatronics are much more akin to FNAF 2 than a typical fan game. So, under this assumption, one would believe that it would be very similar to FNAF 2. You would be wrong. In Candy's, you've got doors. And a very vibrant location that is staunchly different from the original games, as the area you are in doesn't feel like a run-down grungy establishment and rather a wonderful clean arcade that actually feels like a place children would go to. Blank actually seems like an animatronic kids would actually draw on, compared to disassembling a fully functional robot and reassembling it.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
The story goes in a completely different direction, with the puppet characters being an antagonist to the entire trilogy, and not only that, there's a unique gameplay mechanic with all the cameras, having to turn the lights off and on depending on which animatronics are there, because some animatronics don't have working glow-in-the-dark eyes, and while you can see most of them in the dark, Blank is completely undetectable, as well as the rat and the old cat. What are these names? But if you get tired of jump scares, you could always have something more humorous, like Day Shift at Freddy's. These games have running jokes and funny characters that are very tongue-in-cheek, only for it to kind of take itself seriously in the third game, and have one of the most cathartic endings of a fan game, as one-note characters are given depth and emotions that make them likable, like William Afton becoming a lovable companion.
Hello there, old sport. Have you abducted
Keel
them yet?
over and die.
One of the best, most insidious antagonists I've seen in any FNAF fan game,
You will know the joy of creation.
which I'm not going to spoil too much. Then there is the joy of creation,
He said it! He said it!
which I've already covered in a different video, although the audio was a bit off, so I might eventually go back around to talking about it, as well as Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese, which got remastered and is good now. I'm sorry, but this isn't good. Radiance team, God bless them, really reimagined this, with the new and improved version of the game having a lot more animatronics, including a bunch of Showtime animatronics which don't have legs and crawl around the establishment. There's also a mascot suit version of Chucky which acts as your marionette through the game, I guess. You can't let him get too close. He starts on a camera far away, but he never goes back. And if he gets close to the door, that's it. Game over. There's something else this game does which makes it really stand out, and that is how it treats its door system. You see, typically in a Five Nights at Freddy's game, you have doors. These doors allow you to shut away threats. This is normally balanced out by having a power gauge mechanic, meaning you have to resource manage and keep the threats out when they get their closest. But here, in Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese, they take the one interesting part of the original game and make it great. And that would be the gate. With the gate, you have to watch it wind down. Things can slip through while you're doing this, which means if you hear a threat behind you, you have to go over and shut this gate, knowing full well something could get through while you're shutting it. And sometimes a gate just isn't enough. Point is, it's actually somewhat ridiculous how many great FNAF fan games there are. There's at least 87 of them.
87?
All of these fan games really encapsulate a good experience, whether through crass humor or horror. Although some of those that try and capture that horror try purely by having it be completely challenge-based, which I'm not a big fan of, because I'm not a god-tier gamer. Although I can understand the achievements, and sometimes they're a bit more epic. And when I mean epic, I mean epic. And some of them are utterly fucking vile, which brings me to Dormitabus. Dormitabus is downright painful, it's disgusting, and it's filled with the creator's barely disguised filthy fantasies. It is also a broken mess, and I couldn't care to get any more footage than the first night, so we might as well move on to the next section. And hopefully we don't find as many...
That's it! I have had enough! Enough!
Nintendo is one of those game companies that is well known for good reason. They stand as one of the remaining franchise holders that will never release their IPs to other companies. This allows them to remain relevant, even while a decade behind its rivals. For example, the Nintendo Switch should realistically not be able to stand up to its competition. It runs as well as a Wii, which is a decade old, with the only thing that gives it a physical advantage being it's portable. Given all this, a normal console would perish. But the Switch has exclusives galore that you can't get anywhere else, allowing them to rake in the most profits. But this also has the nasty little side effect of Nintendo being the biggest asshole when it comes to letting fans make games with their favourite characters. It's a shame, because with such passionate fans come so many great fan games, and first on that agenda would be Super Mario Flashback. This is a small game that only is a couple levels long, but the pixel art here? Oh, it's immaculate! It is genuinely stunning to see fans create a project like this, considering Nintendo hasn't touched making a pixel Mario game for quite some time. The music, the colourful and creative colouring, is something Nintendo could give the fans, and yet they don't. Then you have Super Mario Bros. X, which is a huge fan game with a bunch attached to it that feels like a full-fleshed game that explores tons of concepts. But the biggest and coolest thing is another little fan game that is built off of this one's engine, and that is Super Mario and the Rainbow Stars, a wonderful game that takes the mechanics from 3D games such as diving and implements into the 2D plane. The movement is so thrilling in this game, and it is crazy that all of this comes from this engine. Look at the difference between these two games.
That's quite big.
And if you think that's a big difference, wait till you see some of the later entries, like taking Mario, the platforming plumber, and putting him in Mario and the music box. Yeah, Mario in a dress. Okay. And a lot of death. The first couple moments can cause you to be buried alive. It's akin to one of those old RPG Maker games, like Ayuoni. Set place in a creepy abandoned house with a top-down perspective and a slew of puzzles and a lot of ways to die and an otherworldly, unnatural entity.
I've been waiting, Luigi.
Then you've got traditional fan games, like ROM hacks. ROM hacks hack the ROMs of initial games to change them into something new. You've also got a bunch of projects which decompile Nintendo games to make them run natively on the PC. This allows you to mod them and have a better understanding of what the initial hardware does, making ROM hacks a bit easier. Some of these are basic concepts and funny levels, while some are a brand new experience, such as a plethora of Zelda content being so amazing, like Legend of Zelda Indigo, a fun little game that is from the perspective of Link after the events of Majora's Mask. It's got this morality system, as well as the ability to accidentally kill things, and also become hated in villages.
I'm sorry.
Then you've got Ultimate Trial, which is a roguelike, and has some really fun bosses, with some coming from other games, like the Asylum Demon from Dark Souls. It's a shame that these aren't more easily accessible, but I suppose a part of that is you need the ROMs to play these games. And some of them are kind of obscure, like getting a specific version of an N64 game which had 3 different releases. If you already had the original version of the game, you still not might be able to play these ROM hacks, which leads to piracy. Given that these ROM hacks kind of incentivize piracy, it makes sense that sometimes fan games get shut down, but that doesn't mean they aren't brilliant. Take Pokemon Uranium, a game that could have straight up been official with how good it is, or Pokemon Infinity, with unique regional variants of a ton of pre-existing Pokemon, which looks gorgeous. Or Pokemon Infinite Fusion, which allows you to fuse different Pokemon with over 100,000 fusions, with half of them being unique.
Hello everybody, my name is Welcome.
There is so much quality in these fan games, and some of them are so unique they could straight up be their own game. And occasionally, they become that, with the developers behind Psycho Waluigi developing and making their own game based off the things they did in their fan game. It truly sucks to see Nintendo stomp on so much creativity. It's nice to see that some big franchises allow it to Starting off the approved fan games, we'll go straight to the blue blur himself, Sonic the Hedgehog. With Sonic, one of the main things you can rely on him for is the abundance of fan games, because no matter the main game's quality, you're going to find a creative and fun fan-made project just around the corner. And to begin, we should talk about Sage, the Sonic Amateur Game Expo, as well as the Sonic Hacking Contest, which showcase an array of fan games that seriously shines potential on up-and-coming developers. And Peter Tower is a well-renowned game known for its amazing soundtrack and a Wario-esque gameplay, sped up to the max, and it was revealed at Sage 2019. Pretty cool game. The next game would be Sonic Roboblast 2. The gameplay is as you would expect. Classic Sonic's design philosophy in levels in a 3D environment. Thrilling, fast, fun, and a Sonic that accelerates on a dime. With an active modern community that introduces characters and levels with unique playsets, the level design here encourages speedrunning, and it feels so good learning the levels and becoming the fastest thing alive, just like the original Sonic games. But if you want to play a 2D Sonic game, or maybe you don't really know how Sonic games work and want to play a Mario game instead, you could always play Sonic Ball, a crossover game with Mario and Sonic, as well as a bunch of characters, as well as modded characters with a very active modding community. Why does that sound familiar? There is also a ton of Sonic.exe games, like a lot. Moving from one autistic fixation to another, we've got Undertale, and its many fan games. Most of them are about
In a shithole!
Most of them aren't fully done, but look like they could eventually become great fan games, like TS Underswap, which swaps a bunch of characters' roles around in the story. And then there are completed fan games, like Undertale Yellow, which follows the perspective of one of the previous humans that fell into the underground, that being Clover. And he's got a gun.
I'm going to kill you, and then kill you again.
Delta Traveler is the next game, and it takes the characters from Deltarune and puts them across a fan multiverse, including an Edgelord Sans that relishes in child murder.
Oh man, I guess you should be burning in hell.
A good thing to mention as well, all of these fan games follow pretty accurately to Undertale, meaning there's a genocide realm, so if you want to be an evil bastard who kills everyone, the game's gonna reflect that, and I think that's really cool, especially considering how some fan games treat you for that.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Moving on from that, we find ourselves in the final section of the video. And for this, I'm going to turn your attention to the company with the biggest hold over gaming on the PC. And surprisingly, it's not the company that owns, most of the PCs. No, the company that has the biggest hold over gaming on the PC would be Valve, with Steam. They achieve this by doing pretty much nothing and watching their competition metaphorically shoot themselves. Saying that is all a bit of a disservice. Steam is a really good platform, and Gabe Newell's a pretty chill dude who's pretty down to earth. Due to his lax nature, he allows fan games to thrive, and one of the biggest ones would be Black Mesa. Black Mesa is a recreation of the first Half-Life that remakes the game to look and play amazing. In what some would consider to be an upgrade, you play as Gordon Freeman in the events of Half-Life, in that faithful resonance cascade. It also makes Zen look absolutely beautiful. I haven't played it. Portal Reloaded is a Portal game that adds a new portal to the mix, and that is time traveling, with time changing from one era to the other. Many consider this to be the official Portal 3, because Valve hates the number 3. Moving on to the next Valve game, which has a bunch of Fangames, we've got Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 has a ton of mods, and the most well-known one is...
What the fuck?
Entropy Zero 2. This game puts you in the shoes of a Combine soldier. The first game, fighting the Resistance. If you haven't played Half-Life 2, those are the good guys. Entropy Zero 2 has you move up the corporate ladder and land yourself a neat promotion. Heading into a cold environment, you stumble into some aperture science chambers, which causes you to make some unlikely friends.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
I haven't played this one either.
Guy stinks!
And for the final bit of the video, we've got Team Fortress 2 Classic. This emulates what it was like to play Team Fortress 2 in the early years, between 2008 and 2009. Allowing a vanilla experience with no cosmetics and new game modes and new weapons. You've even got the VIP. Have I played it?
No.